All right, let's look at 7.5, number 1. 2 more. So 7.4 and 7.5 were on our quiz. So there'll be a couple questions on the test from them. When we have a fraction equals a fraction, how would we solve? Cross multiplying. So 3 times x minus 2 is equal to 5 times x plus 2. What do we do next? Distribute. 3x minus 6 is equal to 5x plus 10. Then we want to combine our like terms, so I'm going to subtract 3x, move our x's on one side, and move the constant numbers to the other, so subtract 10. We get negative 16 is equal to 2x, and then divide by 2. So x is equal to negative 8. It's always a good habit just to check when you plug them in. Negative 8 plus 2 is not 0, so we're good there. And negative 8 minus 2 is not 0, so we're good there. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So here we have 2 fractions on one side, or fraction and a whole number equals a fraction. So we have to find our least common denominator. So I'm going to put 5 over 1. We want to find the least common denominator. So a lot of mistakes that people made on the quiz were that they counted the first denominator as x and negative 5 as like 2 different multiples, I guess. But x minus 5 is just one thing. So we're going to put that on our list for least common denominator, x minus 5. And then we also need to include the other x, because x minus 5 is totally different than just x. So we have to multiply everything by x minus 5 and x. So times x minus 5, times x minus 5, and times x and x minus 5. What would we do next?
Just multiply what's missing.
Awesome. We're going to cancel out if it's already there. So x minus 5's cancel out. So we only end up multiplying by what's missing. So we have x times x minus 4. Second fraction, nothing cancels out. So this would be 5 times x minus 5. And then in the third fraction, the x's cancel. So this is equal to 4x times x minus 5. From here, we just distribute, and we'll combine our like terms to solve. So we get x squared minus 4x plus 5x squared minus 25x is equal to 4x squared minus 20x. Let's combine our like terms. We have x squared and 5x squared would be 6x squared. Negative 4x minus 25x would be negative 29x is equal to 4x squared minus 20x. I'm going to subtract 4x squared to move it to the other side and add 20x to move it to the other side. When we have an x squared and an x, what do we need to do to solve? We're going to have to factor, so we need it to be equal to 0. So we get 2x squared minus 9x is equal to 0. Well, what would we do after this? Equal it to 0, but how do we factor this? Take out an x. So we have x and 2x minus 9 is equal to 0. Then what do? Set them both equal to 0. So x equals 0 and 2x minus 9 equals 0. So x is equal to 0. 2x minus 9 is equal to 0. We're going to add 9 to move it to the other side. So 2x is equal to 9 and divide by 2. So x is equal to 9 over 2. What do we have to do next?
Check it.
Check it. Let's plug it back in real quick to check. So when we plug in 0, 0 minus 5 is not 0, so we're good there. But in our third fraction, can I have 0 in my denominator?
No.
No, so 0 does not work. And then we have 9 over 2. Let's just plug that in real quick to check. 9 over 2 minus 5, is that 0? Nope, we're good there. And then 9 over 2 is not 0. So 9 over 2 works. All right, so let's look at 8.2. So in 1 through 4, we have to tell whether the sequence is arithmetic, geometric, or neither. So what am I adding or subtracting to get, or multiplying to get from 5 to 2 minus 3? What about from 2 to negative 1?
Minus 3.
Let's check all of them just to be sure. If we subtract 3, do we get negative 4? And if we subtract 3, do we get negative 7? So what type of sequence would this be? Arithmetic. You can call it whatever you want.
Please tell me I'll do one of these questions.
All right, let's do the same thing for number 3. What are we adding to get from one number to the next here? We're adding 1/3. If we add 1/3, do we get 3 over 3? Yep, 4 over 3 and 5 over 3. Oops, yes, 1/3. So what type of sequence would this one be? Arithmetic.
The highlighted, or is it just
This is explanation enough, just showing what you're adding or subtracting or multiplying to get from one to the next. Let's look at number 4. What are we adding or subtracting or multiplying to get from 1 to 3? Doing what? Times 3. And then if we multiply 3, do we get 9? Do we get 27? Do we get 81? Yep. So what type of sequence would this one be? Geometric. So remember, when we're multiplying, it's geometric. For number 6, we need to write a rule for the nth term of the sequence and then find the 20th term. So let's figure out if it's geometric or arithmetic. Are we adding or subtracting or multiplying to get from one number to the next? We're adding what? 7. So this would be arithmetic. So we need to use our arithmetic formula. So we have a sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So a sub n is equal to, a sub 1 is our first term. What is our first term? 15. Plus, when we're writing the rule for the nth term, n stays as n. So we have n minus 1 times d. What's d? No. 7. The common difference is d. So 7 would be d. You can leave it like this if you want, or I think on the homework you guys had to simplify. So you can distribute the 7 if you want to. Either way is fine. If you want to leave it on the test or quiz, you can leave it like that. If this was a multiple choice question, you might see it simplified. So it would be 15 plus 7n minus 7, and then we'd combine our like terms. So a sub n is equal to 7n plus 8. So either way is right here, this way or this way. Just make sure n stays as n for the rule. So when you write your rule, n has to be n.
And we have to remember the formulas, right? They won't be given on the test.
You have to remember the formulas. Make sure you know which formula goes with which. And then the last part of this question says to find a sub 20. So we're looking for the 20th term. How would I find the 20th term? Plug it in. So we're going to plug in 20. So 7 times 20 plus 8. And you can use your calculator for the test. So make sure you bring your calculator on Monday. So a sub 20 is equal to 140 plus 8. So our 20th term would be 148. Let's look at 8. So what are we adding to get from one number to the next? 15, awesome. So when we write our rule, our formula is a sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So what's our first term? Negative 25. So a sub n is equal to negative 25 plus n minus 1 times, what's our common difference? 15. So you can leave it like this. This would be fine. But again, if it was a multiple choice question, you might see it simplified. So let's simplify it out. So a sub n is equal to, let's distribute the 15. So negative 25 plus 15n minus 15. So a sub n is equal to 15n minus 40. And then last part of this question says to find the 20th term. So a sub 20, that would be 15 times 20 minus 40. 15 times 20 would be 300. And 300 minus 40 would be 260. All right, let's do, let's look at 7. Here we're writing a rule for the nth term of the sequence and then find a sub 7. So what type of sequence do we have here? Are we adding or multiplying to get from one number to the next? We're multiplying. What are we multiplying by here? Awesome, we're multiplying by 1/4. Notice how our numbers get smaller. So we're multiplying by a fraction when it kind of looks like you're dividing. So we're multiplying by 1/4. Our equation, when we write our rule for a geometric sequence, because this would be geometric, is a sub n is equal to a sub 1 times r to the power of n minus 1. There's 4 formulas you guys need to know. 2 for arithmetic, 2 for geometric. So a sub n is equal to, what's our first term? 80 times, what's our common difference? 1/4 to the power of n minus 1. So this would be our rule. For the rule, you just leave n as n. Don't plug anything in yet. Next, it says find the 7th term. Question?
So when you're doing the geometric one, you can't divide, you can only multiply?
Geometric is only multiplying, yeah. So if it looks like you're dividing, you're multiplying by a fraction. Bless you. So a sub 7, we're going to plug 7 in, is equal to 80 times 1/4 to the power of 7 minus 1. Bless you. So you have 80 times, this would be 1/4 to the power of 6. So 80 times 1 over, let's see what 4 to the power of 6 is. 4,096. So this would be 80 over 4,096. Can we simplify this? So you're saying what goes into both 80 and 4,096? What can we divide them both by?
2 maybe?
40.
Not 40, because you can't divide 4,096 by 40. We can divide them both by 8. So we have 10 over 512. Can we simplify this anymore? We can divide them by 2. So it'd be 5 over 256. All right, let's do number 9. So same thing. This is a geometric sequence. What are we multiplying to get from one number to the next? -2, awesome. So when we write our rule, we have a sub n is equal to, what's our first term? 1.2 times r, which is -2, to the power of n minus 1. So this would be our rule. Now let's find our, what does it say, 27th term. So we have 1.2 times, this would be -2 to the power of 7 minus 1. So 1.2 times -2 to the power of 6. What's -2 to the power of 6? Positive 64. And then 64 times 1.2 would be 76.8. So our 7th term is 76.8. You can always check the signs. Notice how our first term is positive, second term is negative, third is positive, fourth is negative. What do you think our 5th term would be? Positive or negative? Positive, because it goes every other, it alternates. So all of our odd terms are positive. So if we're looking for the 7th term, it's also going to be positive. All the odd terms are positive because it's every other. 7's an odd number, so it would also be positive. So you can always check. A lot of times if you don't put -2 in parentheses when you raise it to the 6th power, it'll give you negative. So that's probably why you got negative in your calculator. So you got to put it in parentheses when you raise it to the 6th power. But you can always just check your work by noticing that every other term is negative, so you know what your sign needs to be. Any questions here? So you have to be able to tell on the test or quiz or test which one's which, if it's geometric or arithmetic. So if it has an exponent, it's going to be geometric. So that means number 2 is arithmetic, which number 2 is just a linear equation, just like our formula here. So this one is arithmetic. Same thing with number 2. Our arithmetic sum formula is n times a sub 1 plus a sub n over 2. One minus r to the nth power over 1 minus r. Perfect. So these are the 4 formulas that you need to know for the test. Yes. Yes. So we've got 2 for arithmetic, 2 for geometric. Let's start with number 1. So we said number 1 is geometric. So we know that we're going to use the formula that goes S sub n is equal to a sub 1 times 1 minus r to the power of n over 1 minus r. So we need to figure out what our first term is, what our r is, and what our n is. How do we find the first term? Awesome. We're going to take the first number that's given to us and plug it in. So we're going to plug in 1. So 2 to the power of 1 minus 1. So 2 to the power of 0 would be what? 1. 2 to the power of 0 is 1. Again, if you're not sure, just plug it in your calculator, and it'll give you 1. Next, let's find r. R is our common ratio. It's the number that has the exponent, so that would be 2. And n would be 5. Awesome. So let's plug it into our formula. S sub n is equal to our first term, which is 1, times 1 minus r, which is 2 to the power of 5, over 1 minus 2. You could plug in the 5 here. It's just saying like the sum of our 5th term, or our 5 terms. So S sub 5 is equal to 1 times, what do we have to do first here? The exponent. So 2 to the 5th power. Which would 32 over, what's 1 minus 2? Negative 1. So the sum of our 5 terms would be 1 times 1 minus 32 would be negative 31 over negative 1. So what would our sum be equal to? 31. Awesome. Any questions here? Let's look at 2. So we're doing the same thing here, but we said this one's arithmetic, so we use our arithmetic sum formula. So that is S sub n is equal to n times a sub 1 plus a sub n over 2. So we need to know what n is, what a sub 1 is, and what a sub n is. So what's our n? 5. Awesome. How do we find a sub 1? We plug in 1 into the n, so we have 2 times 1 minus 1. That'd be 2 minus 1, which is 1. And then how do we find a sub n?
The 5 into the n.
We plug 5 into the n. So we have 2 times 5 minus 1. 10 minus 1 would be 9. So let's plug it into our equation here. S sub 5 is equal to, n is 5, times 1 plus 9 over 2. Next, let's finish in the parentheses. So 10 divided by 2 would be 5. And lastly, 5 times 5 is 25.